Georgia at Ole Miss. This is one of the biggest games of the weekend and should be a ton of fun. Now, looking at Ole Miss, they have 26 players on their injury report. Now, this is not really anything all that new. Lane Kiffin's been putting a bunch of his players on the injury report when they were released nearly every single week. But 26 is a lot. And it looks like a lot of them were actually banged up last weekend. So I'd be curious to see as we get closer to Saturday which ones move from questionable to either doubtful or not playing, or who is going to actually be active. But it looks like Henry Parrish, their running back, is going to be out. It looks like Jordan Watkins, who had a massive game last weekend against Arkansas, is going to be out. So those are two really, really big playmakers that Ole Miss won't have. And now as they face a Georgia defense. So that will be tough. We'll see what, like closer to the game, what their injury report actually looks like. But heading into the game, that's going to be something that's going to be at a disadvantage for Ole Miss. What would be an advantage? They got home field. That's maybe about it as far as what their advantages are. Also, like, kind of what versions of these teams are we going to get? We've seen both really great things from both teams, and we've seen areas of vulnerability from both of these teams so far, and mainly with Georgia, which has been the most concerning. And let's talk about that a little bit. Carson Beck has not looked like himself recently. He's been very turnover prone and very interception prone this entire year. Now, it could be because he doesn't have his security blankets in Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers, but overall, he just really has not looked good. And under pressure, particularly, he's been awful. He has the highest interception rate in all of college football right now when under pressure, more than any other quarterback. And you know who has a good D line and who can get to you? Ole Miss. So they can really bring it up front. That's where Lane Kiffin went really heavy in the transfer portal to bring in these dudes. Walter Nolan from A&M, Umanland from Florida. Like, they got some guys up there that can really cause some havoc. So how is Carson Beck going to be able to react to that? For the Georgia run game, that's something they haven't been able to get really established this year. I think Trevor Etienne had a good game against Texas, but that's really the only game that they have really shown to be all that successful in the run game. And even then, it wasn't really like all that impressive. I think they capitalized on some good field position advantages there. So we'll see about there. But then the other thing I wanted to talk about is can Ole Miss score on this Georgia defense, especially without Trey Harris. Trey Harris is questionable for the game, but he's by far their best receiver. And I'm not sure even with him, can they score on this Georgia defense? It's one thing to light up Arkansas, but Georgia has a different kind of athlete out there on defense. So are they going to be able to move the ball down the field against this Georgia defense? I'm not sure. I think one of the bigger things that we'll need to look at here is the turnover battle. Who's going to win the turnover battle? Because like we had just talked about, Carson Beck is very prone to give the ball up, and he has put Georgia in some very uncomfortable positions because of the turnover battle, particularly with Alabama. It happened in Texas where they ended up coming out and skating free there, but if Ole Miss ends up winning the turnover battle, they have an offense that can expose you and take advantage of that. So it'll be really important for Carson Beck to play his A game. He's going to be the most important person in this game. He needs to be on his game. If he starts throwing 3 interceptions, 3+, like, Ole Miss is going to have a really good shot at taking this game and pulling off an upset here. So that's something you definitely want to watch here. So I'm looking forward to the game. The spread right now is Georgia -2.5. Until Ole Miss proves to me in some of these games that they can pull out these kind of wins, I got to ride with Georgia here. So give me Georgia -2.5. Follow Big Body Ball on all socials.